and boom goes the dynamite. So last week was the premiere of HBO's Watchmen, and gotta say, pretty impressed. It checked a lot of the right boxes for me in terms of what I would want from a Watchmen series. From a lot of those Watchmen series. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. So for anyone who saw episode 1, if you haven't, I don't really recommend actually watching me right now, because it's gonna there's gonna be some stuff that's spoiling for the first episode there. But anyway, it starts kind of like in this sort of Oklahoma, like Tulsa, Oklahoma thing, where there's like some riots or some such going on. I guess that was based on like an actual historical thing that happened. And it has like kind of this it kind of comes full circle by the end, where the child, the save my child, or save this child, or was it watch over this child, something along those lines. The kid that is to be saved or watched or whatever actually ends up being the old geezer in the wheelchair at the end. He shows up one other time in the episode outside the quote-unquote bakery. They had he wasn't buying that it was a bakery. Basically, with every cop having kind of like a cover story for what they do, because they all have apparently secret identities at this point, which kind of is interesting, because in the original kind of source material, there was sort of like an outrage or whatnot, kind of like a public decrying of the the vigilantes, the masked vigilantes, like the lack of like accountability or whatever to the public was kind of like a thing. And it's interesting in this future, which seems to be like, I don't know, like 20, 30 years later, we've got kind of a similar sort of thing going on there. You've got the police now wear masks like the vigilantes of yesteryear in order to protect their identities, but then you have the same thing with the lack of sort of accountability to the public if you don't know who these people are. Another interesting thing, though, is to kind of go along with that, the police have to, they don't just get to carry around their like sidearms. They have to get like special authorization to use any kind of deadly force in the field, and to be able to even like draw the gun, they have to get it like unlocked by somebody back at the station, like a sergeant or a commander or a dispatcher, or somebody has to basically like concur that the gun is necessary in the given situation, which is kind of interesting. You probably never see that in real life, huh? Yeah, might actually help some things, really. They kind of go in a little bit gung ho in a lot of situations. Much to the discomfort and often death of certain individuals. It's not good. So with that, we kind of we get into the guys in the Rorschach masks, the Cavalry, or the 7th Cavalry, as they're called. Some kind of like militant alt-right kind of with like hints of uh, racial kind of, well, not even hints, like it's like pretty in your face. So like they're sort of like, I don't know, they strike me as sort of like maybe like your average like Alex Jones watchers, believe in believe in conspiracy theories, but also like they're all pretty much just like angry white guys. My guess, and I think this is probably something everybody pretty much agree on with this, would be that the cavalry guys, these are the guys who like whenever Rorschach's sort of journal um, got circulated in whatever form, like whether it was the whole thing, just parts of it, um, whoever subscribed to like that particular like newspaper, magazine, whatever it was, I don't exactly recall it, some kind of like conspiratorial journalist type thing. Imagine like somebody, some controversial figure disappears and they leave their they leave their journals for like, I don't know, Jesse Ventura or like Glenn Beck or something, and then that person uses their like platform to share some of the contents. Maybe they selectively share it with some of their audience, and like sort of they get radicalized to an extent. I think that's kind of what that is. However, it's been pointed out that it doesn't seem like, in the grand scheme of things, that they're going to be, the big bad, the ultimate threat. They're sort of maybe like a smoke screen of sorts. They might have a role to play, but maybe they're just puppets, and we have yet to see the puppeteer. To kind of paraphrase something that good old Doc Manhattan here once said. And so I had previously stated I didn't think they were going to reveal Manhattan at all in the first episode, but I guess there's on one of the like TVs in the first episode, you could see the Dr. Manhattan, like messing around on Mars, like live stream apparently had been set up. And oh, speaking of Manhattan, it appears that the energy research that Ozymandias was doing with Manhattan's energy and everything, it seems as though that kind of resulted in the sort of the world having all like the electric cars, and who knows what else. The electric cars were the big thing that I kind of noticed. They all kind of reminded me of the time I test drove a Tesla. So that was kind of cool to see that something came of that. Oh, and something that confused a lot of the people who had only seen the movie was the the squid rain, and the line during the interrogation where it was, do you believe interdimensional attacks are a hoax or a government conspiracy or whatever that was. So, spoiler alert, big difference between the graphic novel and the film. In the graphic novel, they don't, the end isn't, oh, it looks like, Dr. Manhattan's energy was used to, destroy all these cities. Why has he turned against us? No, it was more like, oh no, interdimensional squid dudes like teleported in and exploded and wiped out a bunch of people, and Dr. Manhattan is nowhere to be found. Why has he abandoned us? Not why has he turned against us, is why has he abandoned us, which is more believable because Manhattan felt a great distance with humanity, so much so the government was concerned that maybe he would would abandon them and stop protecting them against the Soviets. But the scheme that Adrian, aka Ozymandias, did was he kind of, in spite of the fact that that wasn't the case, Manhattan probably wasn't, in danger of abandoning, especially towards the end there, where he, started to realize he still cared and started to kind of reconnect with his humanity a little bit. He kind of convinced him, like, hey, I have released all these hellish kind of like squid attacks here, and if you come back into the picture, they're just gonna, kind of go back to relying on Manhattan, you know. So he really had to go, So he left, and he vaporized Rorschach so that all the trouble up to this point wouldn't be for nothing, because obviously if humanity feels that interdimensional squid attacks are a thing, and Dr. Manhattan isn't here to protect the U.S., the world kind of has to, the major powers, the U.S. and the Soviets and whoever else, they're gonna have to set aside grievances and say, hey, we all got hit by this thing, and we don't have big blue boy over here you know to help us defend against the next one. So it seems like we're on our own. And I don't know. They did allude to Vietnam becoming a state, because obviously Dr. Manhattan won the Vietnam War for the U.S. The VC, whatever, they surrendered. The North Vietnamese surrendered directly to Dr. Manhattan at his mighty power, and so it seems like the U.S. held on to Vietnam after the events of the original Watchmen. So it does seem like it is, a sequel to the original graphic novel. Considering the squids are seem to be canon in this version of the story, so I'm actually kind of glad about that, because that actually leaves room for Manhattan to make an appearance again in the story. Whereas had it been had Dr. Manhattan taken the actual blame for the attack, not just his absence, but like his like malice for whatever reason, which he had never really shown malice previously. So that was kind of a change in the movie I didn't really like that much, but kind of makes it so that it's open for him to come back. Whereas if he had done it, or if he was perceived to have done it, they wouldn't really like. How does he come back from that? Oh, hey guys, yeah, I didn't really do it. I just left for a while for other reasons. Y'all, hi, how's it going? How you been? Like, I don't know. I don't think it would play, really. Like, he can't really just come back into the picture, because, there would be no point, really, for him to come back and reveal the truth, because that could just undo. Well, actually, he would know ahead of time if it would, because of his sort of the way he perceives time. If him telling the truth were to undo, whatever the progress, and he were to be around to see it, then he would see it and then, know not to do that. So with it being the squids, he can possibly come back without ever having to reveal what the source of that was, that it was really not interdimensional squids, that it was really Ozymandias just making it look like that all along. Yeah, the truth doesn't have to be revealed. He can come back, and people might not, they might not love him for abandoning them or whatever, but they may not hate him necessarily as if he had been the one that they thought directly attacked them. So I'm interested to see like if he gets like any kind of a real reveal. It was kind of an Easter egg sort of reveal. Like apparently he's back in the solar system. At least he's on Mars, doing whatever it is he does. Time seems sort of like more or less irrelevant to him, at least at the small scale. So for him to be on Mars for a few years, just doing whatever, contemplating existence or whatever it is he's doing, yeah, probably not a big deal for him. I still think that he probably won't make like a proper appearance for a little bit yet. We might just get little like nuggets, little hints of Manhattan still like kind of sprinkled throughout the episodes to come here for the next few weeks, and then maybe towards the end of the season you might get like that big "I'm back" kind of thing. I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool to have Manhattan come back, like in a nearer the end of the season though. I think there is sort of a danger of sort of like him being overused if they bring him back. You don't want to overuse Manhattan if they bring him back. You don't. It's always a danger. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with episode 1. Now, as far as what's going to happen in episode 2, good question, right? I think we'll maybe. Oh yeah, I kind of didn't really touch on Ozymandias. Still kind of what he only had a couple scenes. I think maybe his part in this whole current plot, if any, is going to start to maybe become clear. What he's been up to maybe in the time since the original, since he's been declared dead. We know only so far that he's still alive in Europe somewhere. Lives in kind of castle, has a couple of servants, and wrote a play called The Watchman's Son, or Watchmaker's Son, rather. So we'll see kind of what he's up to, I think. I think we'll get more of him in episode 2. Because in episode 1 it was hints of Vite. They didn't really give us a clear idea of what he's playing at. What is he up to? Because he's got to be up to something, or he wouldn't be here. There's some, how does he relate back to kind of what's going on back in Oklahoma? Does he relate to it at all? Is what he's doing going to somehow intersect with what's really going on there? Vis-a-vis, old decrepit dude in a wheelchair and the hung police chief. What is going on? What are the cavalry doing with all those batteries? Who knows? Who knows about that? I do think that we will get to see more of Ozymandias. Maybe they won't, really tie together how he's related to the rest of what's going on yet. I mean, they haven't really told us what is going on yet exactly. It's hard to say, really. The cavalry were really prominently featured, but it does definitely, it feels like a smokescreen of sorts. The true enemy has yet to reveal himself, as they would say in The Sopranos. So I'm interested to see who the new threat is. Obviously, it's got to be something something different. It can't. It has to be something that's sort of complex enough where, in the event that Dr. Manhattan comes back to Earth, like it can't be something where he would want to put his thumb too much on the scale and just, obliterate it. That's always a danger. That's why I'm hoping that they just keep giving us hints of Manhattan. There's not really any point in having, a big battle where Dr. Manhattan is prominently featured, because he's gonna, if he's part of like the main fight, he can just, whoever the final boss is, Dr. Manhattan can kill the final boss in almost any universe, especially one that's, more or less based on ours. There's not really any meta-humans other than him. Well, he's not even meta-human. He's past meta-human. He's as far beyond meta-human as meta-human are beyond us, or something like that, to paraphrase Apocalypse from X-Men. So, yeah. I think we're probably, I don't know, maybe the Cavalry will even just, that whole thing will get wrapped up in, early on here in the next episode or two. And then we'll figure out, more or less what the real threat of, and I don't know if, each season's going to have like a different main villain. True Blood kind of followed that format where there was a kind of a new big bad of each season, and then the next big bad would kind of be alluded to in the finale of the previous, or the current. They would wrap up the current big bad and then they kind of set up the next sort of towards the end. Or will this be a kind of a thing where like the big bad is set up as like a series long thing, like the Night King in Game of Thrones was kind of built up to be. And then, hey, you know what? They could, if the same guys wrote this, the big bad's built up for 3, 4, 5, however many, 8 seasons, and then at the end, Silk Spectre pops out of nowhere and stabs him in the face, and he disintegrates. No, we don't want that. Or Dr. Manhattan just teleports out of the sky and atomizes the threat, and then sachets away again. Maybe. Could happen. I really hope that's not how they do it. I don't want to see this get true-blooded or Game of Thrones. Come on, HBO, you can do better. Oh, is the person that I have, this viewer, is that a real viewer? Real viewer, want to say something in the chat? Because for this to go on like much longer, I probably have to have some like questions or ideas or something to respond to. Because I mean, at this point, next episode is kind of largely speculation. Well, seems like we've got a shy viewer situation where nobody's really chatting in the chat here, so I do kind of so one thing I want to bring up is I do want to know what happened to Night Owl. And I guess Silk Spectre to an extent, but that is what it is. also curious in like kind of their verse there, what happened. How is the functioning relationship between the U.S. and the Soviet Union and or the rest of the world? I don't think they really, other than Vietnam becoming a state, I don't think they mentioned too much about any of that. Nixon's still president. No, it's got to be like 20 to 30 years after the end of Watchmen that we're in at this point. So. No, actually, they might have shown something about who the presidents were, or who it was currently, or who one of the ones after Nixon was. I think actually they did have something in there about that. Maybe I should rewatch episode 1 again. There was obviously like they were throwing a lot of stuff at you, a lot of Easter eggs and nods and tidbits. They're doing a really solid job, I think, of building the world, the Watchmen universe after the events of Watchmen. I think they're painting an interesting picture of what this world is like for the people in it. You know, the squid rain, you know, is one of those little tidbits. You know, in the moment, it didn't really like. I mean, it didn't really advance the plot to have, you know, squids, you know, pop up out of nowhere. That was world building, I would say. You know, if if the psionic, you know, interdimensional squid attack that killed, you know, however many tens or hundreds of millions of people, you know, in the 1980s version of their world, if that was like the big earthquake, these little squid rains are like the aftershocks, and I think that's kind of, you know, interesting. I am kind of curious what's behind that. If everything since the big one has been just these little, you know, almost like cloud bursts of mini squids. Has there been any other like actual attacks? Because I'm not 100% clear on like the mechanism. It was like a big elaborate thing that Ozymandias did, you know, making it look like an interdimensional attack, but I don't think it actually was, unless he figured out how to teleport, you know, psionic squids from another dimension. But as far as I can tell, you know, he had the ability to, you know, make something appear like that, but not actually that. So I was under the impression that like the whole thing was kind of a controlled event, and these aftershocks, I don't know, they make me think that maybe it wasn't a controlled event, or as controlled. I mean, he doesn't seem like, because he's still sitting there in his castle, like pressing the squid rain button every once in a while, just to remind people that like threat is out there, and they need to keep on, you know, working together for the greater good, because you never know when the next big one might be. Is that what it is? I don't know. I don't know. The other kind of major thing that's kind of sticking in my mind a little bit is like what, you know, how long was Manhattan gone before he, you know, reappeared on Mars? Did he go to another galaxy and play around with, you know, starting life of his own? Is like, I mean, he can duplicate himself and be in more than one place at a time. Is there another of him somewhere else still kind of doing that while one of him is on Mars doing what he's doing there? What did he do in his time away? What's he doing now? It's kind of interesting to speculate on that. Also, like, have they come up with any countermeasures to interdimensional attack? Mhm. Any fun or interesting future weapons being featured? Also, have they rebuilt any of the big cities that got wiped? I mean, have like, is New York City a thing anymore? Have the people moved back into those areas again since the big attack? Don't know. I don't know if it was ever stated if like the area of the attacks would be uninhabitable after them or anything like that. Did not seem to be the case. I don't think any like radiation or anything. It was like never mentioned that it would have any effect on like the environment or anything. It was just kill a bunch of people. Also, I am curious like, exactly how long it's been because it feels a lot like the 20 to 30 year um, like time frame. They might have gone over it. I think because like the old guy in the wheelchair, I think actually they might have uh, gone over his age. So the Tulsa thing happened in I think the 1920s. The thing in the very beginning where they're in the movie theater, and then it's watch over this child, and they then they said in the end that he was in his 90s. So I think like that puts us into probably like the early 2000s, early mid 2000s, something like that. So probably yeah, I mean mid 80s was the original, then probably 20 years down the line. Seems about right. I'm just I don't know. I'm pretty amped for the second episode tonight. So I definitely am going to be watching and taking note of what's going on. Okay, well, I think I've pretty much gone over all my initial thoughts. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like I'm getting too much chat engagement of any kind here, so I guess this was just me talking for half an hour about Watchmen, which, I'm always happy to do. So, yep, have a good one. Signing off for now. Catch everybody some point after the next episode. Maybe I'll just do it again next Sunday before the third episode airs.